Steps in, starts it. Crosby scores! At 12 seconds of the second period.
What's going on, everybody? This is another episode of Mega Hockey Podcast. I'm Dottore here, of course, with Mega Light. Mega, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. It was good. Back for another episode of this podcast. At the end of last episode, I said that the next podcast would be at the draft, but we decided to do one early. So I guess we're gonna be doing more podcasts than you guys thought we were. So the more content, the better. Let's get into this.
So this has been a crazy first round of the playoffs. Some people are saying it's one of the best first rounds in recent memory, and I kind of have to agree. It was really something. What stood out to you, just general impressions about the first round?
Yeah, I mean, the first round was very hectic. Obviously, the new format for the playoffs makes it so that the first round is more, so that the earlier rounds are more exciting than the later rounds. It was really hectic. There were a lot of series. Obviously, there were really good teams facing off, like Dallas, Colorado. There were basically every single match was good. Besides the uh, besides like the Florida Tampas, the Washington Montreals, but they had that didn't go to as many games. They had a very physical element into the game, and it was really fun to watch. Every single one of these series are really fun to watch, and I think if you were to put these series into other playoffs that we've seen in recent memory, I think they would all be some of the best. So in this podcast, we're going to be going over the second round of teams here. We're going to be doing exactly what we did in the last one, giving our predictions, keys to the series. Let's get into it.
So let's start with the West. The West is clearly stronger than the East. I mean, the first round, you had 3 series go 4-1 in the East, and the West was 4-3, 4-3, 4-2, 4-2. And those twos were still really, really tight series that could have gone both ways. The West is really showing that it is a dominant conference. So the first matchup here, Winnipeg versus Dallas. Now, I picked Winnipeg in the first round. I actually have them winning the cup, which is looking very shaky right now. I picked Colorado in the first round. I just figured that without Heiskanen and Robertson, and with Colorado having Nelson and then Landeskog, that put them over the edge. I said Colorado in 7. It was Dallas in 7. So we got Winnipeg, Dallas. What are your thoughts? How you feel about this series?
Yeah, this was one of the things that was not good for my bracket. I picked Dallas in 7, but then I changed it after then. I changed it after the pod to Colorado in 7 after I found out that Heiskanen and Robertson were hurt. So
You changed it after the pod?
yeah, I changed it after the pod because I didn't know they were hurt.
You didn't have to tell anyone that. You could have just left it, and we all would have thought you picked Dallas. So
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, so Winnipeg, that was a shaky thing on St. Louis side. Some people thought that St. Louis was gonna win Game 7.
they were 2 minutes away from winning Game 7. It had 2-goal lead with 2 minutes to go. How heartbreaking is that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that series, once Winnipeg lost Game 6, and that just demoralizing and just overall game. I feel like St. Louis actually had a legitimate shot at winning Game 7. But Winnipeg pulled out the dub with all those things that have gone wrong in the playoffs that were not going wrong in the regular season, such as Connor Hellebuyck. He's probably the Vezina winner, but in the playoffs he has not shown that. Obviously, because he hasn't shown that in past years, he's not showing it now. It makes sense, but he is just letting his team down even more this year. I feel like for Winnipeg to beat Dallas, I feel like he has to be good, and also he has to be good. If he's not, Dallas is better than St. Louis. I feel like Dallas is a team that even without Heiskanen and Robertson can still pull out the dub against a Winnipeg team that doesn't have a good goalie in the form of Connor Hellebuyck.
Yeah, I think the playoffs are all about momentum. It's, 4 rounds. It's a pretty tight time frame. Dallas has all the momentum. Rantanen is just a beast. And Winnipeg doesn't have the momentum. They really should have lost that series. Hellebuck is playing like garbage. One would think that it's going to reverse. They'll return to form, but I'm going Dallas simply because you got to ride the momentum. I'm going to say Dallas in 6. Winnipeg did not look good at all in that first round, and they could pull it together. I'm going to ride the momentum. I'm going to say Dallas in 6.
Yeah, I have a kind of different. Well, not really that different. I picked Dallas in 7. I feel like Connor Hellebuck's going to get back to his game and this one a little bit, not as much as not in regular season, obviously, but I feel like Winnipeg will try it a bit harder. But I just feel like Dallas is the better team in this situation, even without Heiskanen and Robertson. Just because Winnipeg without their goalie and they just can't do it. Like Hellebuck was the star. Hellebuck is the star of their team, and they, along with obviously Connor and Scheifele and Perfetti and all those guys, but without him, they can't do it. They simply can't do it. And obviously, with Dallas not having Heiskanen and Robertson, that kind of evens it out. But I still think they're going to pull out the dub. I have Dallas in 7.
That's fair. Dallas won 2 of those games against Colorado in overtime, so that could have easily gone the other way.
Yeah.
It could be 7. I'll say 6. I don't know. Winnipeg looks a little shaky.
Yeah, that's what makes the Colorado winning picks in the first round. That's what makes it not as much of a loss because this series could have gone either way. Obviously,
Rantanen is on major Conn Smythe watch here.
yeah.
It's just insane what he's been able to do.
Yeah, Rantanen and also somebody that we'll get to in the next series, Connor McDavid.
All right, so the next series is Vegas against Edmonton. Vegas got by Minnesota. It was 4-2, but that series was much closer than 4-2. Vegas won game 4 and game 5 in overtime, which, overtime's a coin flip. And then game 6, they won by a goal. Minnesota played really, really well that series. So Vegas is a solid team. Edmonton, we all know about Edmonton. A lot of people picked them to win the cup before the season started and before the playoffs started. I'm going to just share something with you. I just personally dislike Edmonton, and that's why I'm picking Vegas. I think Edmonton could very easily win this series, but I just don't like them. I don't like them. I don't think Connor McDavid plays defense. I don't think that should be as exalted as he is. So I'm going to say Vegas in 7. And it's an emotional pick, Mega.
Yeah.
It's an emotional pick.
Well, I mean, you can't. Well, I mean, honestly, you played defense when you played hockey, but you can't just rate every single NHL superstar and the fact that if they play defense.
That's pretty much my top criteria. Do they play defense?
Well, if they're a forward and they're an offensive forward playing on the first or second line, you can't expect them to play a ton of good defense. Like, you just can't.
That might be true, but I can also expect someone to not just wait for his teammate to get the puck and then in the D zone just start sprinting out of the D zone expecting a pass. You got to do a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Bouchard is continuing his run. He's got a bunch of goals. People were saying that was a fluke. That's not a fluke.
Yeah.
Edmonton's scary. If they scored buckets of goals versus the King. They scored something like 29 goals in 6 games versus the Kings. I mean, that's insane. They're over 4 goals a game average. They can outscore anybody, and so they can beat anybody. But I'm going to say Vegas. I think that's going to be a really good series.
Yeah. This is
Who do you have? You have
yeah. So first round, Edmonton, LA. I picked LA. You did too. I picked them in 6. Edmonton looks like they're doing what they did last year. McDavid and Draisaitl have 1 million points. They have an insane power play AK, which is not been happening as much, but I feel like it's enough to carry them out of the first round. For this series, I think the keys are McDavid, Stuart Skinner, Draisaitl, and and Bouchard or Darnell Nurse. Basically everybody. Connor McDavid and Dressel have to have 1,000,000 points. Bouchard and Nurse have to do some form of defense, and Stuart Skinner has to be decent. And I feel like if all of those things happen, then they will beat a very good team like Vegas. I feel like Vegas is just is a better team defensively. Not obviously with top end talent, but and also in between the pipes. I have them winning in 6. I feel like Edmonton. I feel like their inconsistent run of McDavid and Dressel having 1,000,000 points, them actually having a good power play, and PK, it's just not going to last. It's just not consistent. I feel like they're going to fall victim to that in this series. Looking at the analytics, season points, Vegas 110, Edmonton 101, goals per game, Vegas 3.4, Edmonton 3.2. Goals against per game, Edmonton 2.9, Vegas 2.7, power play, Edmonton 2.3, 23.7, Vegas 28.3, penalty peak 75.7 for the Knights and 78.2 for the Oilers. So these stats are in favor of Vegas, and I feel like that's the way it should be. But I feel like with the PK, Edmonton will put up a fight, but I feel like Vegas just has this in 6.
Yeah, this might be a who outscores who series, and that means the special teams are going to be really important. What's kind of crazy to me is that we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 8 guys over 10 or more points in the playoffs so far after the first round. The scoring has been absolutely insane. You got guys, McKinnon had 7 goals, Nylander, Rantanen 5. I mean, this is just crazy, the scoring. So this is going to be a very high scoring series. We'll see what happens. All right. The next one, we'll go over to the East now, and we will go little Washington, Carolina.
Yeah.
So both of these teams kind of play the same style. Season series was tied. All signs point to this is going to be a very close series. I would imagine probably a lower scoring series. Maybe not the most fun series to watch out of the 4. What do you think about Washington, Carolina?
So, I feel like these 2 teams, we can just explain them briefly. Washington, they had a very successful retool, obviously. They're the second round after being the Habs in 5 games. I had them in 6. You had them in 5. You were correct on that. And they're on to the second round. I feel like they're obviously their team has changed obviously with the retools since their 2018 Stanley Cup with Ovi, and all those other guys, but I feel like they're gonna compete in the playoffs in the second, third round if they make it. And I don't feel like this is a fluke, but I also do not think that Washington is a team that can make it that's like a wagon and can possibly win the cup. I think they will. I do not think that they'll win the cup, but Carolina, obviously that big loss at the trade deadline with Rantanen, who had 13 points in the Dallas Colorado series, so is stepping up in the playoffs. But he had like a point per game in the regular season, so respectable. But obviously I think he's kind of a product of Colorado here with all their high scoring. Carolina, they got Logan Stankoven, though he's been very good for them. The first round picks are going to come in handy. I feel like they obviously still have a very good team that could compete. I don't think it's enough to put them over the edge, though. I feel like they needed that Rantanen to put them over the edge against Washington. These Washington and Carolina both very good coaches. Carolina has a bit better defense in my opinion, but I feel like Washington just has more depth and I feel like they just have better players. And I feel like they have more firepower.
So what do you think of this one? What's your prediction?
I'm thinking Washington in 7. I feel like this is gonna be a close series.
Full disclosure, we're recording this as game 1 is on. So Washington's winning 1-0 in the third period. So we just got to put that out there. We're a little late getting this on. So you're already ahead of the game. You know what? I don't know what to think about this series. I think Carolina is the better team, like structurally, but Washington, they're on a run this year, and I've been doubting them all year. I did nail both of these in the first round. I believe exactly. I'd have to go back and listen to the pod, but I think I got both of them in 5, right?
You got Jersey. I think you picked 6.
Did I really?
Yeah. Because I remember looking at your bracket. You only got Washington.
Stupid New Jersey. All right. So I'm gonna make it interesting. I'm gonna go the other way just because it'll make it interesting. I'm gonna say Carolina in 7. I'm gonna say Carolina in 7.
Yeah,
They
I
have
feel
the
like this.
experience. They have the structure. They're very good. They're very good at getting to the conference finals and then losing. I don't believe in Washington. I know Ovi's got 4 goals in 5 games, not including this game 1 here. If he does that again and they keep scoring, yeah, Washington's going to win. I'm going to say Carolina in 7 just to make it interesting.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of a coin flip series. It's like the Dallas, Colorado. Statistics: season points, Washington 111, Carolina 99. Goals per game, Washington 3.5, Carolina 3.3. Goals against per game, Washington 2.8, Carolina 2.9. Power play, Washington 23.5, Carolina 18.7. Penalty PK, Washington 82, even, and Carolina 83.6. So the odds do come a little bit in Washington's favor, but like I said before, this is a coin flip series.
They play a very similar style, and I think that Carolina just plays that style a little bit better. But Washington has a little more pop and firepower. They could definitely take it. We'll see what happens. I think that Tom Wilson, like Washington really got under Montreal's skin. Montreal hadn't been in the playoffs in a while. They got a lot of young players. They got rattled by the playoff atmosphere. Carolina's not going to do that. They are experienced. They're veterans. They know what to expect. So I don't think Tom Wilson and company are really going to be that destabilizing force. So I'm going to say Carolina, but that's a coin flip. Go either way.
Yeah.
All right, now, arguably the best of the 4 series, Toronto and Florida. Now, as we're recording this, Toronto has a 1-0 lead off Florida in games. They won 5-4 yesterday. So Toronto's up 1-0. What are your thoughts about game 1 of that series or just the series in general? Or the previous series? Toronto got past Ottawa, Florida got past Tampa. Both relatively easy for them.
Yeah, so like you said before, Toronto got past Ottawa, Florida got past Tampa. I feel like Florida-Tampa was a very was a kind of a surprising series. We both had Tampa winning. And just the 5 games that it only took Florida to beat them. It was kind of surprising to me, and obviously it was surprising to you, says the person who had Tampa making it to the Cup Finals.
You know, I screwed this one up. I had Tampa going to the finals. Tampa, on paper, looked really solid. And obviously, Florida's the champs. You think, okay, why would you think that the champs could lose in the first round? You know, Kachuk got hurt at 4 Nations. I didn't know what he was going to be when he came back. I thought he wouldn't be 100%. I was way off on that. He's been a force. Barkov, I had heard, wasn't 100%. I just thought those 2 things combined with the fact that Florida's played a lot of hockey, they won the Cup last year, so a lot of wear and tear. And even though Tampa's kind of on the decline, I really loved the Gensel move, and I thought that they would do something. That was really the only series I think that I was completely wrong and confused about. Like, I was totally off on that. Every other one, I was within a game, close, that was a real surprise. And you look like an idiot when you bet against Florida, and Florida's playing like Florida can play, and they just dominate people, and it looks like a really stupid pick. So, bad job by me on that one. But I'm going to make up for it because I'm going to say Florida. And part of this is that Florida's just playing really well. Marchand, I mean, that's an amazing addition to their team. But the other thing is that I hate Toronto. So we're going emotions in the second round. We're going to have an emotional round here. And I don't want to see Toronto win like most of the league. So I'm gonna say, even though Toronto has a 1-0 lead, I'm gonna say Florida, and I'm gonna say Florida in 6.
Mm,
I think Florida's gonna turn this thing around.
kind of a controversial pick. So obviously, game one of the series definitely indicates this is going to be a tight series. This is going to be a series where teams are going to be battling. We've seen Toronto, Florida, and Toronto obviously is the team that's known for choking in the playoffs with their very long cup drought.
I think the Stolar stand is important because presumably he's not going to play. He had a major concussion, big controversy with Bennett.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's coming back. If he doesn't come back, which it looks like he's not, but no one really knows, that's a huge blow for Toronto. He's playing amazingly, and that could turn the series right there.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the series is gonna go either way. I feel like even though Florida beat Tampa and I picked Tampa, I'm still gonna go with what I said before. I'm gonna say Florida's tired. But I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it in a way where it's like, oh, Tampa's winning and says no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna say Toronto is gonna have a lucky playoff run here. I'm gonna say that they can score goals, that Matthews and Marner will actually show up for the second round. I'm gonna say Toronto in 6.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have a little bit of an upset, with Florida. I feel like picking Toronto in 7 wouldn't really be considered one, but I feel like 6. I'm gonna pick that. Looking at statistics, Toronto season points 108, Florida 98. We've already went over that. Goals per game, Toronto 3.13, Florida 3 even. GA, Toronto 2.8, Florida 2.8. Power play, Toronto 24.8, Florida 23.5, and penalty kill, Toronto 77.9, while Florida 8.7. So these are pretty even. These are pretty even across the board. So this is also a coin flip series, even though I have them winning in 6.
The thing I'll say about Toronto is playing really, really well this year. They are a really great team. One thing I'll say about Toronto for all the Maple Leaf fans, if you want to break that nearly 60-year drought, this is the year. You have to do it this year. You finally got the goaltending. You have a lot of scoring. You have depth scoring. Tavares had an amazing year. Nyes is playing great. If you don't do it this year, that core is not going to be around forever, and you may not have another shot. So it's do or die for Toronto.
Yes. It's like you got.
They have to do this now. And if they get past Florida, they're going to beat Washington or Carolina. I'm convinced of that. So in my opinion, you get past Florida, this could be your Stanley Cup right here. Because if you get past Florida, you're going to make it to the finals. And then who knows who you're going to face. But these offensive teams like Dallas and Edmonton, Florida can definitely shut them down. I'm sorry, Toronto could shut them down. I think that this is a huge series, and for the franchise for Toronto, not just for this playoffs. I think this is a huge series for their whole franchise. They have to do it now.
Yeah, definitely, because so like you said before, they're probably going to be either the Caps or Carolina, whoever makes it in that Metro.
Yeah, I think whoever wins this series is going to go on to the finals.
Yeah, I kind of think, because Toronto, Florida, I feel like Toronto can definitely rival any Western Conference team like Dallas or Vegas, whoever you want to make it to the Cup final. I think they have a shot of beating any of them. I had them making it to the Cup finals. I have it in the second round bracket too. And yeah, so I definitely think that. I think that the West will win the Cup, but I think that they definitely have a chance. And also, like you said, they have one shot this year. If they don't do it this year, then I don't think they're going to do it with this core right now, because obviously you got Marner will probably be leaving. You got Tavares is always getting older. He's not going to have as many points. And you got the possibility that Stolarz and Woll will not be the same elite goalies that they were last year. And with all of that, you're just not going to do it.
So if we're So basically, looking to the next round, looking to the third round, we're thinking that Toronto or Florida, whoever wins that series, is going to come out and win in the third round, right?
Yeah, because I feel like if Florida wins this, they're not tired. They're just going for another cup, and I feel like they're gonna blow by any Metro team that's trying to get in their way. Like I feel like with the Metro after the Ovi and Crosby era, after that was done, I was Caps are still good, but they're not as good. They're not that cup winning team. I feel like the Metro is just going in a rebuild right now.
So in the West, we got if I come out correct here, then it would be Dallas versus Vegas. You know, I kind of had Winnipeg on my bracket winning the cup, but I'm changing that because we're running the pod, so I can do that. I can just change my pick here. I'm gonna go with Dallas. I think Dallas gets to the cup finals. They've always had all the pieces, but I didn't think they could overcome those injuries. It seems like they can. So I would have Dallas over Vegas in a round 3. I think Dallas beats Edmonton as well. Quite honestly, I think Winnipeg or Dallas. I think the cup finalist is going to come from that series. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so Dallas, Vegas, I have that too. Yeah, so I have so Dallas, Vegas is a very good series. They've, I believe, seen themselves in a conference final before. Dallas, I feel like even without Robertson and Heiskanen, they have a chance at beating Vegas, who's obviously an aging core. Um, I feel like this is also going to be a coin flip, but I feel like Vegas, if you're just looking at uh talent and probability to win, just because Dallas has Robertson and Heiskanen, I feel like Vegas would be the favorite. But I feel like Dallas, I'm gonna pick a little bit of an upset because I pick all favorites in that first round. It did not end well for me. So I'm gonna pick Dallas to make it to the cup finals. And then for me it would be Toronto and the Caps. I pick Toronto for reasons that I said earlier about the Metro not being good and that the winner of that Toronto Florida series is just kind of decides who's going to make it to the finals for the Eastern Conference. For the Dallas Vegas series, we got see the Orange Dallas 106, Vegas 110 goals per game, Dallas 3.4, Vegas the same goals against per game, Dallas 2.8, Vegas 2.7 power play, Dallas 22 even, and Vegas 28.3 penalty kill, Dallas 8.
Vegas had a sick power play at 28.3. My
Yeah.
goodness. Holy moly.
Yeah, and penalty kill, Dallas 82 even, Vegas 75.7. So the first couple are in Vegas's favor, but it does even out that penalty kill being in Dallas's favor. So it isn't a little bit of Vegas's favor, but I'm picking a little bit of an upset. So I picked Dallas to make it to the finals and face Toronto. So so that's my conference final. What about yours?
I think that I think the cup champ comes out of the West. So I don't care who wins, if it's Winnipeg or Dallas. I think one of those two wins the cup. I think Toronto very well could win the cup. I think they're certainly good enough, and this is their year, and they're finally getting the defense and the goaltending. First of all, it's an emotional pick. I don't want to see them win ever. And I think the West is just too strong. So that's what I'm going with. So I think Dallas wins the cup. If Winnipeg beats Dallas, I would say Winnipeg wins the cup. I don't think it's coming out of that Vegas Edmonton side. But anything's possible.
Yeah.
All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed part 1 of the podcast. We went over the first round. This is round 2 and a little bit more. We will be back for a draft podcast.
Well, or maybe round 3.
Maybe round 3. We'll see what happens. You can let us know what time you want us to do.
If our bracket, if our brackets are completely crushed and Florida, for just speaking for me, if Florida and Carolina win, and then Winnipeg and Edmonton win, we'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you for round 3. But if not, we'll probably just be seeing you for either for the draft preview for the first round for any team, and possibly an Islanders only episode for the end. For our Islanders, they got the first overall pick. So
Let's go. Number one pick.
we might do an extra pod just for that.
We're gonna do a
Oh.
pod or draft preview. I'll talk a little bit about maybe the top 5 teams and what their needs are and who the best fit would be, what we see as the draft order, and then we might do a separate pod just on the Isles and the number
Yeah.
1 because there's a lot of debate right now about who we should pick. So
Yeah, shout out all the Isles YouTubers. Yeah.
all right, guys, that's it for this podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. We will see you next time. Enjoy the games.
Yeah. Peace.